All right, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do it. Hello, and welcome. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do this. All right, here we go. Hello, and welcome to episode 537 of the Unauthorized History of the Pacific War podcast. My name is Seth Paridon, historian and deputy director of the Mississippi Armed Forces Museum, and with me, as always, is my co-host, author, and historian good buddy, John Parshall. How are you this frigid December day?
Stressed out and overworked. How about you? Let's just lay it out,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm almost to the point where I can produce a complete galley of the book now. That's we're getting there. So,
but yeah,
God, I'm as my friend Seth would say, I am busier than a one-armed paper hanger at this point in time. And and December is just kind of what it is. Anyway.
But I prefer the one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest.
Whatever, man.
Whatever. All right, so as you can tell, we're doing an archival episode today because this is the week after Thanksgiving, and John and I didn't want to prep anything, so here we are. And we're going to go through some footage I think a lot of people have seen, but there's some mythos around some of this stuff because back about a month or so ago, I saw a lot of this same footage floating around the internet, and it's like, oh, it's all, blah, 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 Santa Cruz, and it ain't, but that's what we're going to look at today is footage from Enterprise and Hornet at Eastern Solomons, Enterprise, and Hornet, Santa Cruz. So,
yep. Just for a little bit of background, Battle of Eastern Solomons is fought in August, as a reaction to the American invasion of Guadalcanal. This was the carrier battle that Frank Jack Fletcher knew he was going to get into as a result of the invasion of Guadalcanal, and sure enough, he did. And then Battle of Santa Cruz happens in late October of 1942, and there's ground combat going on in Guadalcanal as well. This is a combined effort on the part of the Japanese Army and Navy to drive in a major ground attack that was going to take the airfield, and then the Imperial Navy was going to come down from the north, wipe out whatever elements of the American Navy was still in the neighborhood, and secure sea control so they could bring in further reinforcements and just basically crush the American garrison on Guadalcanal. So that's sort of the context, if you will.
I think it's safe to say that just about any major Japanese push that occurs on Guadalcanal is tied to a major naval push of some sort, be it carriers like here or surface vessels like in November. There's some sort of naval push. It's a combined arms, even if it's loose. Loosely combined arms. There's some sort of event here, and so far as Eastern Solomons is concerned, I think it's probably the forgotten carrier battle of the war.
Yes.
I hate to use that term forgotten because, it's
so overused.
But it's true. Yeah, it is overused. But you talk about Coral Sea, you talk about Midway, and you do talk about Santa Cruz because of the huge casualties that are involved. But everybody kind of forgets about Eastern Solomons, but it was significant.
Well, and there's reasons for that, too. I hate to say it, but this is just not a battle that captures the imagination. Like, I know Midway like the back of my hand. Obviously, I could talk about that all day. But if somebody sat me on a bar stool and said, "Here's your quarter, talk about Eastern Solomons," I'd be like, let me go back and read my manuscript again, because it really doesn't just come tripping off the tongue. I gotta admit,
it doesn't. And there's some pretty, as you're going to see here in a minute, once we stop blabbing, there's some pretty famous imagery that's tied to these events that, for whatever reason, it does get kind of swept under the carpet with everything else that goes on. So, all right, so let's look at this. I don't have the dang narrow reel numbers in front of me, but I'll put that in the show notes. So if anybody wants to go look at the full reels of this, you're welcome to do so. Just like as we do every time, very rarely do we show the entire reel because sometimes there's Eastern Solomons and then there's, guys stacking crates in New Guinea or whatever. It's weird how the National Archives footage is, but it is what it is. So this first shot, most of the first part of this show is going to be Enterprise because that's just where the footage is from, and then we'll get to Hornet later. And the Hornet footage is actually.
And I'm intrigued too. You say Nara, I say Nara.
I don't know.
His potato. Is this one of those, have I become a closet Brit, Is that what's going on there?
Well, I look at it like this, you and I both know girls named Sarah, and I don't call her Sarah. So
yeah, but I call it the archives, not the archives.
That is also true. That is also true.
Anyway.
That is also true. Man, that's a rabbit hole you could go down. We could go into National Archives at College Park and get lost for weeks.
Yes, indeed. All right.
Antiquated card catalog system.
Hell yeah.
It's true.
Love it.
Ridiculous, but it works. Okay, yeah, so barring the screw up that nobody's going to see because I'm going to cut it out of this episode because Seth didn't edit the footage properly, because that's just what happens sometimes. We're going to start here. This is the battle.
And, for the sake of our audience, this is what they love. They know they're not getting AI because AI wouldn't have been this dumb about it, right?
No.
Yeah.
No, that's the God's honest truth. So this is Enterprise at Eastern Solomons. What's an interesting little thing is that, again, you'll see some of this footage and people are going to recognize and go, ooh, there was a photographer's mate, third class, who was in charge of basically, and we'll get to his name once we get to that point in the story, who was in charge of shooting this event. And what he did is he took his motion picture camera and he essentially, whether he strapped it down, bolted it down, tied it down, I don't have a clue, but he attached it to the rear railing on Enterprise's superstructure, pointing towards the back end of her flight deck. Why? I do not know. I don't know if he was assigned to do that. I don't know if somebody said put it here, or if he just thought maybe this will be a cool spot, so I'm going to put it here. But that's what he does. He attaches this sucker here, and it captures some really, really, really cool footage that we're going to see, and some harrowing footage as well. So I'm going to point everybody in this direction here.
Orlickens firing across the deck, going berserk.
Yeah. And if you look, and unfortunately the camera, like I want to, in my mind's eye, grab it and tilt it up a little bit to get a little bit more of the flight deck, but you can't, obviously. But if you look around, look at some of these gun barrels. They're all in different angles because they were shooting at dive bombers. And as John just pointed out, this guy is shooting across the deck at an aircraft that's coming in at this very moment.
Yeah, from the port quarter. Because that's the beautiful thing about having an Orlicken on a pintle mount. Yeah. And now it's crossing left to right.
And this guy, I don't know if this is a Marine or a sailor, but he is burning the barrel out of this thing.
I was just going to say, there's not a lot of fire discipline there. It's like rock around the clock, man.
I mean, just cutting loose. Look at that.
Give me another drum.
3-round burst my behind. I mean, he was just boom. All right, so here we go.
And then,
all right, so this is the first bomb to hit USS Enterprise in World War II. This hit was put down by Petty Officer First Class Furuta Kyoto, is the gentleman's name. John, did he come from Shikaku, I think?
You're doing this to me?
I'm doing this to you. I think he did. No, I'm serious. I think this is Shikaku's airstrike that comes in through here and puts this hit on Enterprise.
And just for the sake of our listeners who do want the blow by blow of who hit whom, obviously Rich Frank's Guadalcanal has a lot of good stuff, but if you really want to get down in the deep in the weeds about this, John Lundstrom's first team book is like decks awash in detail. So that's a good one. And then, of course, his follow-up volume, Black Shoe Carrier Admiral, that is all about Fletcher. This is going to be Fletcher's final carrier fight of the war. And it's, John does a very good job of detailing this battle in there as well. But as to your question as to whether this dude is from Shokaku or not, as I'm looking through the notes relatively quickly, because that's how we roll here, yes, I think these are Shokaku vowels, but I do not know the dude's name the way you do. Anyway, pray continue.
So, there's a big kaboom that goes on here. So I'm going to try and get the cursor off here. So give me a second. Let it. There we go. I'm going to go through frame by frame.
Yes, sir.
Boom.
Wow.
Yeah. This is pretty graphic, so I want to point
Yeah,
out.
it is. There's a
Right.
gentleman there.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is a blast that's going to hit Enterprise's starboard 5-inch gun gallery. Watch this poor, unfortunate soul.
Yeah. Rest
Needless
in
to
peace.
say, that gentleman did not survive. I don't have a clue who that man was, but he is no longer on this
Yeah.
planet, guaranteed.
Yeah, so that, and you can see the other guy running away from the 5-inch gun mount there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time hit. Big time hit. So this actually starts a stubborn fire that burns in Enterprise for a while, like a long while. This hit, let's see, I'll get you exact deets here. The after 50 feet of the hangar deck was raised to a crown of approximately 2 feet. This bomb went all the way through the second deck, left a 16-foot hole, buckled the deck. All compartments were wrecked, and this is coming from Enterprise's damage report, by the way, if anybody wants to know. Wrecked between frames 157 and 173. Watertight bulkhead at 173 was ruptured. Stubborn fires in bedding and clothing. This thing went all the way down to the third deck. Another 16-foot hole tangent to the side of the ship, starboard side. Fragment holes blew out the side of her side plating. And the number 3 elevator machinery was badly damaged, rendered out of commission. Small fire in the pump room went all the way down to the freaking fourth deck. Several holes in starboard plating, 169, 172, 5-foot hole. So, I mean, this thing actually just goes through there like a knife through butter and just blows things out of commission out there.
And given the angle that it's coming down, it had to it came down in a very steep trajectory, obviously, because it can't be blowing out fragments of her starboard side unless it comes down pretty much vertically.
Yeah.
God, that is just.
I'm going backwards.
Backing up.
Yeah. But I want to go frame by frame because it's. I'll speed it up just a smidge. But again, just watch this impact. Not to be gross or violent, but just watch this impact of this thing. Boom. There goes the chunks of flight deck flying around and everything else. You can see the smoke rising through the elevator well right there.
Well, and the fact that gentleman can even escape from that general area where his shipmate was just killed.
Yeah.
Man, he got lucky.
He really did. Really did.
He's probably injured, but
there's still no doubt.
Yeah, had to be injured, but he's at least mobile enough that he could get out of there.
And of course, you see the guys running to the back, running to the stern here to render whatever assistance they can. Yep. Enterprise does land aircraft later, and I find this to be utterly fascinating. This is naval combat in action on an aircraft carrier. You see these 3 cats right here. They're running back to the scene of the devastation to either put out fires or haul people out or both.
Yep.
And then watch, I'm pointing with my damn fingers again, like you can see me, but watch these 2 guys. These 2 guys specifically. Clearly, there's another aircraft coming in because watch their reaction. They're looking up.
They're looking up. Yeah, right. A rut-row, Raggy.
Not today, Jack. Everybody move.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too. This is remarked upon by the Japanese accounts from Midway as well. You can see the bombs coming down. And so, they are aware that something is being dropped on them. Yeah, just look at them.
This dude right here, he's watching it come the whole time.
Yeah.
He's looking to make sure he doesn't trip, and then he's going to look back. Uh-oh.
As his mate did. Yeah.
And you can see these gunners back here. They're tracking. I'll back it up a little bit more.
Yes.
I can't tell if they're firing because of all the smoke and flame back here. I can't
see, my guess, if I had to take a guess, the plane has dropped its bomb. Some of these people are watching that bomb come down, but the gunners are tracking the plane, which is now making its egress, and they are shooting at it as it is, changing bearing rapidly as it's moving out of the general area. That would be my guess for what's going on there.
This old boy here is shooting. You can see the muzzle flat, and this guy is whipping that Ehrlichman around to either engage or track, as you were saying, because he's bringing it around now.
Yeah, right. There he is.
Yeah. Right.
Right, and now it's off to the starboard quarter, it looks like.
It is. And what's interesting about this, and you'll see this again in the Santa Cruz footage, and keep in mind, guys, I'm going backwards, but watch the camera. It's shaking like this. Those are near misses. According to Enterprise's damage report, those are near misses that are tooth rattlers, if you will.
Right.
And they're literally rattling the ship. And you'll see it right there. Boom, 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 boom.
Right, boom, boom. Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. She's not being hit. She's almost being hit. And she's trying to get the hell out of the way. And as you see right there, there's the evidence of another near miss. That ain't rain.
Yeah.
That's seawater, right?
Yes.
There.
Right there.
Kaboosh.
Yeah. Wow. I've never seen that before. That is really interesting.
Yeah, that's close.
Yeah, that's real
that,
close.
My man, is a pucker moment right there.
Yeah, it is. And then
okay. See if I can pause it on the frame. That's pretty close. That's pretty
famous.
Close. Yeah.
Famous shot.
This is the one that I said is kind of tied to mythology, because it's been said for years and years and years that the gentleman who shot that shot was killed. And he was not. I mean, he was, but he wasn't killed here. The footage that you're looking at here was shot by the gentleman I mentioned before. I didn't mention his name, but he's photographer's mate, second class, Marion Riley. Marion Riley is the guy that bolted, strapped, tied the Mopex cam to the back end of the superstructure here. And the famous shot that you see that I've tried to replicate in the film here is actually a screen grab from the film.
Right.
The gentleman that actually was killed, that they said was killed when he shot this picture, was a gentleman named, as photographer's mate, third class, Robert Reed, R-E-A-D, Reed, like read a book. He was killed when the 5-inch gun gallery back here was hit.
Okay.
He was not killed when this went off. Actually, nobody was right here. They were wounded, but there were people that were not killed, because this is what Enterprise called a low order detonation.
Oh, interesting. Although it's interesting too. I mean, again, going backward to our two gentlemen who were on the deck and who were looking up and then skedaddling out of there. They had good reason to skedaddle, because that's exactly where the bomb came down.
Yeah. I mean, they could literally see it coming. I put something in the notes I thought was kind of funny, but not really. Enterprise's executive officer at the time was a guy named John Cromlin, who was Barrett Tillman called him Mr. Enterprise, because he served on Big E forever. And he related this very incident, watching just what these guys were doing, which was hauling ass to get out of the way. He said that they were on the superstructure, and everybody around him like went diving into the superstructure. And he said he was the last one, quote, only because they moved faster than I did.
That's a bad feeling.
Yeah, but they're watching, and they're just exactly to your point. These guys are, they're getting the heck out of there as fast as they can. This thing goes off right here, clearly.
Yep.
And it sends junk everywhere.
You could see the junk coming down too, almost like a little bit of a pyroclastic flow there at the end, right? It's just all this soot and garbage.
Like, watch here.
Yeah.
It just boom, look at it all.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what it winds up doing is blowing a 10-foot hole in the deck, which is, significant. And you're going to see that hole here in a second. And there it is. Right here. Right at the edge of that elevator.
If that cameraman had obeyed your instincts and panned up a little bit more before, securing the camera, you never would be able to see this 10-foot hole here in the deck.
True enough. But yeah, that's one of the more famous images, really, I think, of the Pacific War. You see that bomb burst in just about any kind of book when it comes to the Pacific War. So that's the actual story behind it. Look at the something burning here, either a chunk of the bomb or the chunk of probably the bomb. Yeah, burning on the flight.
And just all the garbage on the flight deck now.
Yeah. Enterprise was seriously damaged here at this point. She was never in any. There's more of it here burning here.
Yep.
She was never in any danger of sinking at Eastern Solomons or Santa Cruz for that matter. But it was a matter of her being able to operate, because when she takes these hits down on the after end of her flight deck here, they penetrate down into her ventilation locker down there in the steering room, and it winds up causing the temperature in those rooms to skyrocket to, I think Barrett had said in his Enterprise book, something like 140 degrees within minutes.
Yeah.
Where guys were, literally passing out at their station because it was so damn hot.
Notice too that the volume of fire from the starboard anti-aircraft gallery is significantly diminished after this. Yeah, it's funny how that works.
And if you watch the flames,
gentleman. I was just going to say the gentleman who was blazing away with no fire discipline is no longer blazing. So he's hit the deck or have been injured or I don't know what. But
so according to what I was able to find regarding that very blast, the one that made this hole right here, this 10-foot hole, there were people injured, but to my knowledge, and according to Enterprise, there was no one killed when that happened. I have no doubt in my mind that these gunners back here, somebody took some shrapnel to the face, I'm sure.
For sure.
Or upper extremities, I have no doubt. But you can see there's people moving. There's a guy right here. It looks like he's got a talker's helmet on. And these cats are running back here to do something about these flames that are still licking at the 5-inch gun galleries here.
Yep. Yeah, there's definitely movement there.
But that rang their bell for sure. But this was a significant set of hits here on Enterprise.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, the other thing may be that temporarily they may not, and I just saw one of the Orlikans, it's moving up and down there, so it's still manned, it's still tracking, but they're not shooting at anything right at the moment. Notice too, the 5-inch guns on the port gallery likewise are now trained on a uniform target. I feel like they were kind of askew before, but anyway.
Let's see if we can back up and see if we can. Yeah, they're moving.
Yeah, look at right.
Yeah, so I'm going in reverse right now.
Yep.
But let's watch real time. Watch the furthermost aft gun.
The aft gun is
cranking it up.
Yep. Where are we shooting here? Yeah.
There's another near miss.
Good Lord. Yeah.
That's like passing under a waterfall, man.
Yeah, it is. I had no idea.
So clearly these dudes were, and then they're not firing because you would have seen the recoil of the weapon. Yeah. These guys aren't firing, but they were tracking, obviously, more than likely the guy that dropped this bomb that near missed Enterprise. Watch this. Good gracious.
Yeah. Hello. Which, again, says that the people on Shokaku and Zuikaku knew what they were doing. I mean, near misses, that's pretty credible.
Okay. Yeah, so the bomb that hits the... I misspoke earlier. I said that the bomb that hit the 5-inch gun gallery was a different gentleman. The bomb that hits back here and wipes this section out, it was dropped by Petty Officer First Class Koitabashi Hiroshi and his pilot, Petty Officer First Class Akimoto Tomatsu. That's who put pay to Enterprise's starboard 5-inch gun gallery back here.
Right.
So forgive me for misspeaking. The gentleman that put the bomb right here for the famous flash shot was Petty Officer Second Class Hori Kazumi, who was killed in this attack. So one has to imagine that AAA caught him on his dive down. I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I looked through Lundstrom to see if he said he was killed in the egress or in the dive, and he didn't. He just says that he was killed. So that's who that was. All right. Yeah, you can see the water pouring through the hole from that near miss. You see that? Look at that.
Yeah, look at that. Right.
Let me go back. Go back to the near miss because it's a lot of water. This thing was, again, this is one of these ones that ruptures some hull plates and pops some seams and gets things wet on the inside. Gagoosh.
Holy Moses, yeah. That really is. You can see it's still coming down aft there, too. Yeah.
Mhm. And you're watching a 5-inch gun. He's tracking down now. He's moving down.
Yeah.
Both of them are.
There we go.
But yeah, so the cameraman Riley is now moving his Mopic. He's going to swing it around.
Yeah.
Because as Enterprise is still, she's still cooking through the water here. He swings it around, and this, as you were saying just a second ago, John, that's wreckage of one of the Japanese aircraft that attacked Enterprise. Which one? God knows. I don't know. We were trying to see if we could figure that out, but was unable. So Nerderatti, if you can,
let
us know.
I like this quote that you had in here from Jack Glass, who was an armorer's mate, third class. He was caught in the open and takes cover under a portion of the island, which isn't really much in the way of cover at all.
No.
And after the attack, he wandered back to the 5-inch gun gallery, the starboard gallery, and had this to say: "That's when I really growed up a little bit. I walked back and looked at that terrible scene back there where those guys were all burned up. It was just a flash fire, and they were just burned instantaneously. That'll make a believer out of you, if anything will."
Yeah.
Yeah, you can still see the fire on there. It's cooking away.
Yeah. Jack had I interviewed him. He lived in he was from Georgia, but he lived in Tuolumne, California, right by Yosemite National Park. It was an absolutely gorgeous piece of the country. And he had the unfortunate luck, I guess you could say, to be on the flight deck at Eastern Solomons and Santa Cruz. He was caught on the flight deck on both occasions. He was assigned to Fighting 6 to basically to repair the radios. Okay. And when he wasn't doing that, he was pushing planes on the flight deck because he was a young, spry young man who'd just gotten aboard Enterprise like a couple of months before, right after Midway, as a matter of fact. And Jack later goes on to be a rear seat gunner in Bombing Squadron 10. And he will fight the Battle of Philippine Sea. He'll fly in the rear seat of Bombing 10 under Jig Dog Ramage at Phil C.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
He's a good dude. Really good dude. Yeah. That's a big asshole. That's going to stop flight operations for a while.
A BAH, I believe that's known as in the technical vernacular. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, again, actual
there's lots of stuff going on down in the hangar deck at this point too. We just can't see it, but there's crews down there doing their thing.
I think the thing, what Enterprise damage report described this hole as being, this hit rather, as being one of the luckier ones she's survived through the entire war. And Barrett confirmed this in his Enterprise book. And for those of you who are saying who's Barrett, it's John and I's mutual friend Barrett Tillman, BT as I call him. He said that had this bomb been just about another 5 feet over, it would have potentially exploded inside Enterprise's torpedo storage area.
Ooh. Which
would have been very bad.
That is a serious BAH. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though our torpedoes didn't always work, you put them next to fire, they're probably going to go off. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely a fire there.
Yeah, we are burning bad back here. And again, I'll lay in some of the still imagery of this. And I mean, she is burning really good back here. And obviously they're fighting the fires. They're trying to get them under control, but they're still burning out of control really at this point.
Yeah.
You can see the flames right here.
Yeah, you'd be amazed, if you get a fire going in the berthing compartments because of all that bedding and stuff and clothes as well. Yeah, that can look at these guys bringing out the fire hoses. Man, we know what we're doing when it comes to damage control.
Yeah, and she did, I think probably at least in this time of the war, this is the first time she's hit Enterprise, that is, of course. But a lot of these guys, and this is, not something to be, made light of, is a lot of these guys had been, not all of them, but a lot of these guys had been aboard this ship for a long time.
Yeah.
Obviously, there were your young cats like Jack Glass and people like him. But the majority of these dudes had been on Enterprise since before Pearl Harbor. So while, yes, this is the first time she'd taken any kind of significant damage, these dudes knew what they were doing. I mean, they could, by 1944, she had the best trained flight deck crew damage control parties in the fleet because of all the damage that she had suffered and survived.
Right.
This being the first. And they're on it, but it takes a long time, exactly to your point, because of all the combustible crap that's in there.
Playing water down into the deck edges there, right down in the gallery.
And we're gonna see some footage of the results, not the dead, but the results of the blast inside this gun gallery back here in just a few minutes. She's
still maneuvering. Okay, battleship in the background there.
Yes, indeed. That is the showboat. That is USS North Carolina. This I thought was, again, it's interesting. It's kind of comical, but not in the way that you would think. Her gunnery officer was a gentleman named Lieutenant Commander Kirkpatrick, USS North Carolina's gunnery officer. And this is the first time that American fast battleship had been screening the carriers in a carrier battle. So it's the first time that anybody had seen the firepower that these things could actually bring to a party. And when the Japanese are coming overhead to attack Enterprise for the first time, Kirkpatrick, cuts loose with everything he has. And there's such a volume of fire coming from North Carolina that Enterprise's captain, I can't think of his name at the top of my head, calls via TBS and asks, "Are you afire?" Because it looked like she was on fire for the sheer amount of gunnery that is pouring from this
boom,
thing.
Boom. Yeah,
that's a lot of boom boom, and that is
a lot of boom boom.
North Carolina. Are you afire?
Are you afire? using firefighting foam here, it looks like.
Yeah, I guess. I really don't know. They're doing something that I guess they're trying to couple these hoses together, and clearly they sprung a leak somewhere, because
that's interesting.
Yeah. But as you can see, what they're doing here, and I'll back it up just a smidge. You're watching guys are swinging what appears to be axes. It's either axes or sledges or something, and they're trying to cut away the damaged wood. That's probably both, frankly. They're trying to cut away the damaged wood to render some sort of a patch back here on the after end of the flight deck. You can see them swinging.
You can also see one of the Wildcats from the Combat Air Patrol.
Yep. Coming in on our port side now.
Yeah. Memo, you are not landing here right now.
Not right now, you're not.
Yeah.
Before anybody asks, no, I don't know what destroyer that is. I tried. I spent an inordinate amount of time yesterday trying to figure out which one it was. Yeah. And unfortunately, she had unfortunately for me, she had 5 DDs around her, and 4 of them looked exactly like that. So I have no clue which one that is.
Right.
And I tried to get a number off of here, but I could not make it out because it's too dang blurry.
Yep.
And I'm talking about that. I couldn't do it. All right. So here's the results of the damage control and the bomb. I talked about the 2-foot crown in the flight deck.
Yeah.
There it is. Kaboom.
Right.
She did obviously recover aircraft after this, but that whole situation had to be put under control.
Right.
Here's the sheet metal
over
patch.
The 10-footer.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Hey, it works.
Yeah, you can see the girders there have just been bulged upward. Yeet. And there is the gallery.
Yeah. This is burnt paint and everything else.
To a crisp.
Yeah. There are photographs of these poor, unfortunate souls. I'm not going to show them here, but just suffice it to say they look like human charcoal. They're not in good shape. Those guys never knew what hit them. I'll tell you that. They never knew what hit them. But yeah, they cranked the guns back around and rendered them out of commission. They would not operate again until Enterprise goes back to the yard. She goes back to the yard in Pearl Harbor after this operation, where she has put Nimitz. I think he throws a crew on her for something like I don't know, like a week or something like that, where they're just working 24/7 to try and get her back into the war because she was her in Saratoga, and that's it,
Right.
Wasp was there, yes, but Wasp is lost in September, so it's.
Oh, you can see it blew out some of the deck plates too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not OSHA compliant there.
No, sir, it is not. So I don't know what all this is. I don't want to speculate. Something clearly was splattered all over here. This is what appears to be rivets here, but what was this? Is it oil? Yeah. Is it human remains? I don't know.
Yeah, yuck.
But either way, it was a bad set of circumstances.
Kind of makes you wonder if they refurbed those guns, or they just yanked them off entire and here's a new pair. I don't know.
I don't know, but I mean, you're looking at like here, this is
messed up.
A seat for a guy, that there was a guy sitting in this seat.
Yes.
And clearly something just went right through there. So, to answer that question, I don't know. Without pulling up the Pearl Harbor yard report, I couldn't tell you, but clearly there's going to be parts of it that are going to have to be replaced on these things for sure. Here's inside. So this is directly behind. So if these are the guns that we just looked at, this is 10, 12, 15 feet inside underneath the flight deck now.
Yep.
Right about where the bomb actually penetrated and went off.
Yeesh.
I mean, look at the holes.
Yep.
All up through
there. Yeah, 500
pounds
of HE will do that.
Yeah. I mean, it just devastated this area back here, clearly.
Yeah. Man.
And that's only one. That's one.
Mm-hmm. And that's a bomb half the size of the bombs that we were using on their carriers at Midway, by and large.
Yeah, I mean, look at the perforated.
Just blown to hell and gone, yeah.
Not to mention the gigantic hole there.
Right. Yeah, you're kind of looking down in the... Oof.
So this is her crane on the back end of the...
yes. Yeah, on the back end of the stack.
Yeah. Yep. Shrapnel holes here.
Doink.
Yeah. It was a serious pop, those couple of hits she took, and as I said, that they were significant enough to render her inoperative for a very short amount of time, and the damage done at Santa Cruz was more significant. There's no question, but this was a sizable hit. Yeah, this was a real deal. Yeah, I'm not sure what all that. Okay, this now. This is the Battle of Santa Cruz.
Okay.
So Enterprise has been repaired. This is October 26, 1942. The Enterprise has been repaired. The damage done here clearly has been repaired. The hole has been properly patched, and her 5-inch guns, you can see one of them's elevated here. They're cooking. I tried to figure out whose SPD that was, and I could not. I don't know whose Dauntless that is right there. But these gentlemen that are running around here, specifically this dude here and this dude here, they're trying to chalk this thing is what they're going to do. And you're going to see why. You're going to see why in just a minute. Let's let it play real time. As things are going down, because if you look back here.
Flashes, yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Boom.
Yeah.
And obviously by the elevation, they're shooting at dive bombers.
Yep, for sure.
And
smoke
again,
from the muzzle there.
Keep in mind, anytime the camera's doing this kind of thing, that's a bomb going off. So we're going to go back here a minute.
It looks like we got, water from a near miss there.
Something's going on. I don't know if it's water or smoke or what, but boom.
Yeah.
No, that's water, I think.
Okay, so there's a gentleman hiding under the wing of the plane at this point.
Is there one or two? Because I could see him, and I don't know if that's a guy there. And there's one there, too. Hey, You do
Any
what you
port
gotta
in the
do,
storm.
man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We don't judge.
Mm-mm.
Notice the destroyer off the port quarter. Back that up a little bit. That dude is close.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Once again, destroyer captains, man.
Different breed of cat.
Different breed.
Those
Enterprise
guys that
is
get
maneuvering
so
radically.
She is, and again, we're going to see because there's several attacks that befall her at Santa Cruz. You know, she's attacked, I think, no less than 3 times in a very short amount of time, and you're going to see her really skidding around the water here in a minute. But I mean, those gunners on the starboard side are shooting again back over, and they are pouring it to it because all this stuff right here, this is smoke from her guns.
Yeah, she's doing a round every 5 or 6 seconds, I would say, out of that one gun. We could time that, but that is we are blazing away.
Yeah. You see the guy on the 20 back here. Oof. Oof. All right, here we go. So this is so as opposed to Eastern Solomons, where Enterprise's damage was sustained on her after portion.
Yeah.
Santa Cruz, her damage is sustained amidships up forward. She takes several bombs up forward, and what you're seeing here, this big jarring action on the flight deck, is when she's getting hit here up forward. There is no footage of that. There's still imagery of that, which I will show, but there is no footage of that. But watch this SBD, man.
Bouncing Betty.
Look out, boys.
That's a bad feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leaving the gentlemen who were huddled underneath that plane like, hey, where's my shelter?
Yeah, there's
3 of them back
exposed. There. Yeah. And you can see, I mean, they're taking cover. They're lying as flat as they possibly can, making themselves as small as they possibly
Oh my goodness.
can be. Nowhere to hide.
Nowhere to hide.
And again, all this stuff that's wafting over her flight deck, that's gunfire. That's her
the 20 that's in the extreme port side there is just absolutely blazing away, or was. And again, just look how radically she's maneuvering. Get down.
Yeah, now the 5-inchers are going off.
Okay, got another. There's the battleship. Yeah, that.
I think so. I think this. Damn it! The cursor keeps calling. Yeah, I think the ship we're seeing there is an Atlanta class anti-aircraft cruiser.
Okay, fair.
Which one though? Because
if this is, that's San Juan.
It is San Juan?
It's San Juan because the screen is South Dakota, Portland, and San Juan. Okay. And then a whole passel of destroyers, about 8 of them. So yeah, there's only one Atlanta class light cruiser, and it's San Juan. Per Rich Frank, page 377.
There we go.
All right, real time, baby.
So this attack that we're watching, I found this again coming out of Enterprise's damage report. It occurs at 11:15 on the 26th of October. The aircraft that are attacking were not seen until they were almost directly overhead.
That's a bad feeling.
That is a bad feeling. And I think that's why you see these dudes that are under this SBD literally running for their lives after their Dauntless is jarred off the edge of the flight deck here.
Boom.
Yeah. There are 24 attacking planes in this particular wave, according to Enterprise.
Man.
Look at that.
That 5-inch, man, those dudes are just blazing away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of according to Enterprise's AAR, the attacking planes were not seen until well in their dives. And they were quickly opposed, I'm reading this directly from the report, quickly opposed by dense AA fire, and the ship maneuvered radically in every direction. Yeah. That's confirmed in the footage right here.
Confirmed in the footage, yeah.
Of the 24, 7 were observed to be shot down and crashed in the sea. The others were harassed into making wild releases. This attack lasted 4 minutes.
There's that 20 going off in the port gallery again.
Yeah. I mean, look at that wake.
Yeah. Well, that's a near miss there.
I'm going to say that's a bomb, yeah.
Yeah, that was a bomb. Another one near miss just now. Good Lord. Boom. She's spitting out a shell. Okay, so there's the San Juan.
Oh, watch this.
You can see the flashes from her 5 inchers as well.
Yeah, I just saw that. Watch that. That's just boom.
Yep.
Boom.
Yep.
Boom.
Yep. Boom. 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 Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's what you get when you have 3 of those dual 5-inch turrets on the backside there. Okay, we can see wakes. So yeah, at this point, Enterprise is just like skidding around inside this formation. I saw a flash from the destroyer that was just off the port there too.
Let's go back, see if we can catch it.
Yeah.
Oh,
right there.
Sure enough, right there.
Yeah. So everybody and their brother is cutting loose on these planes. And of course, if you're one of these smaller vessels, it is your job to stay out of the way of this large careening aircraft carrier.
And that's pretty much what they did. I mean, if you read the accounts of some of the destroyer skippers out here in this particular event, as Enterprise is, kind of looking like a worm on the sidewalk right there. They're basically getting the hell out of her way.
Yeah.
The only one, and it's not even a DD, although there is a DD that ties in close to her, that's USS Smith. The one that stays tied in tight, and you'll see her in some of these shots, is Battleship South Dakota. Mm-hmm. South Dakota is tied in tight on Enterprise, and then some of the still imagery that I'll show, I mean, you'll see them both in the same frame. She stayed with her. There's another DD there.
Yep. She's also blazing away. Yep.
Okay. All right. Here we go. All right, John. So you're going to try and time this?
Yeah.
All right. Let's do it. Come on.
Yeah. 4 seconds. 4 seconds. So 15 rounds a minute, baby. Yeah. That's how we roll.
I mean, that's putting it out there.
Yeah, it is. Meanwhile, back on the deck crew, we have this unfortunate SBD that is in a place it should not be.
It should not. And they're going to just heave it over the side. Okay, there's San Juan.
There's San Juan again.
That's a good looking ship, man.
Yeah.
Those things are pretty.
A lot of boom boom per pound there.
Yes, indeed. And as we're going to pan.
There's another DD, obviously.
And right up here is, come on, bring it up. There's South Dakota.
Hello.
Look how close that thing is. That's
really
a freaking battleship.
Yeah. Just beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, the claim, the famous claim is South Dakota shot down 26 aircraft.
26 is malarkey.
Yeah.
Utter malarkey.
I don't remember. I used to know off the top of my head exactly how many they actually give her credit for, and it's significantly less, but it's not. It's still in the double digits.
Yeah, I think it was like 12 or something like that. I don't know.
Something like that.
It's a lot.
And the thing is what you got to remember too when it comes to kill claims is that, as you just saw, every mother's son is shooting at these aircraft. Mm-hmm. So everybody thinks they hit it when it does go down in flames.
Right.
And there is no question, you go back and go watch our episode, that we did on Santa Cruz when we go into deep, deep detail. there's two things, well, three things that I think can be attributed to Enterprise surviving this event. And one of them is this thing right here, because she was so tight in there. And this is the first fast battleship with Bofors that goes out to the Pacific is South Dakota.
Yeah. Although in San Juan's defense, she carries as many 5-inch guns as South Dakota does.
That is true.
You know?
That is true.
Yeah.
Actually, she carries more.
No.
Wait, let's see. 3, 6. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, 8 and 8. Yeah, because South Dakota had 4.
8 and 8. Yeah, because South Dakota's down a pair because she was fitted out as a command ship.
That's right.
Yeah, so she only has 16. 8 turrets. Yeah, so we got a DD, we got San Juan in the background there.
My bad. That is, I can't tell.
We're shooting at stuff, obviously, clearly.
Yeah, she's popping on both sides, too. Boom.
Yeah. Boom.
And then boom.
Mm-hmm.
So if my identification is correct, and I'm sure the Nerderatti will tell me if I am wrong, I do believe this to be the USS Smith DD-378. And let me put my nerd glasses on. The reason I say that is because of the lack of a funnel cap on her forwardmost funnel right there, which her sisters, who were there at the same time, did have, but she did not. And if this is indeed USS Smith, it was commanded by a gentleman named Lieutenant Commander Hunter Wood. And this is the very same destroyer that took some people say it was intentional, some people say it was not. Swede Vedeza was riding behind a Kate, and he ran out of ammunition. And he'd hit it, and he damaged it, and the thing was damaged. It was a fire, this Kate, and this Kate, either the pilot decided he wasn't going to make it home, or he was hit when Swede shot him up. I don't know. He was also taken under fire by South Dakota, but he flew the aircraft into the front end of USS Smith, and still carrying his torpedo. And then later on, the torpedo cooks off on the bow of USS Smith. And this is the same destroyer, and I confirmed this twice yesterday, that Commander Hunter Wood drove the destroyer into the wake of USS South Dakota to help put out the flames
right
on the front end of his destroyer.
Right.
And obviously if this is Smith, and I'm pretty dang sure it is, this is obviously before all that occurs. But yeah, she's tied in tight.
Yeah, really close aboard.
And here we got
South Dakota, obviously, right there.
Right there, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are under attack again. You got guys literally scattering to the 4 winds.
Gracious.
Shooting going off on the port side and directly underneath the superstructure here. Something's afire out here. I'm assuming that's an aircraft, but I can't tell. This is what I was talking about, watching her wake. Look at this.
Yeah. Yeah, we're radical turn to starboard here.
Captain of the Enterprise at this time is a gentleman named Osborne Hardison.
And what's going on here is this is a torpedo plane attack, and so you can see the 5-inch guns are at very low elevation, and likewise, yeah, look at that. Yeah, they're all blazing away there. Boom.
Hang on, let's see. Okay, yeah, this comes from, again, Enterprise Damage Report. An estimated 14 torpedo planes are seen to divide into 2 groups, which attempted to gain favorable approach positions forward on both sides outside our screen. Heavy AAA was brought to bear from Enterprise as well as vessels of the screen, but approximately 9 torpedoes were launched, 5 from starboard and probably 4 from port. They were dropped from heights of about 75 feet at ranges from 1,000 to 2,000 yards. 3 torpedo tracks close together were observed coming at the ship from 20 degrees forward of the starboard beam. Rudder was immediately put over hard right, as you can see.
Yes.
And Enterprise is going to comb the wakes of all these torpedoes. She is not going to be pierced by any Japanese torpedoes during this event.
Those 5 inches slewing around there?
Yes. Torpedoes, no.
Boom.
Okay, this is freaking cool.
That is really cool.
Observe, because you can
And
see
so
this
this
thing
is why
coming
that
in.
5-incher is slewing around.
All right, so according to Enterprise's damage report, after action report, I'm sorry, because there's a difference. 5 torpedo planes approached from dead astern.
Dead astern.
And then tried to gain favorable launching position on the port beam. The initial turn to starboard kept the stern pointed towards these planes as they swung out to port, with the result that their approach was prolonged after they had come within effective range of the 20-millimeter batteries. AAA fire against them was heavy and accurate. Yes, it is. 3 were shot down close aboard. 1 pulled up, released its torpedo in a climbing turn, then crashed, and the remaining plane made an aimed release from an angle of about 20 degrees on the port quarter, but the torpedo missed the port as the ship paralleled its track. Watch this. Very slow, but keep your eyes out here. Come on, baby. There he is.
Right there. Holy Moses. And it did say in the report as well that these aircraft were close enough for the men to see their faces in the cockpits.
And I can believe that.
Absolutely.
That is a Japanese Kate, ladies and
That is a
gentlemen.
Kate. Hello.
Look at that.
Wow.
Look at the fire. Wow, I just noticed this.
Mm.
Watch the tracer fire leaping out. This is, I'm assuming, coming from the port side gun galleries. Just, trying to get her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A lot of tracer there.
Let's go back one more time. Oop. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Trying.
Yeah, they are.
That's pretty damn close. There's Portland.
That's Portland. Yep.
No mistake. That's a big, big vessel.
Yeah.
A big clipper bow on the tripod mast. Yeah, that's USS.
The 5-incher is continuing to blaze away here.
This is still Santa Cruz. According to John Lundstrom, this is Ensign Philip Souza's F4F Wildcat from VF-72. This had crash landed just moments before would be the final attack against Enterprise here at Santa Cruz. And this attack that you're going to see unfold here in just a minute is going to be coming from Junio.
Mm-hmm. Junio.
That's your scow, isn't it, Junio?
Me and Tony. Tony has a soft spot for Junio, and I just think she's a scow. But as I say in the manuscript, though, every dog has its day, and this day was destined to be Junio's. So, yeah,
indeed. There's Portland again in the background, and I'm going at half speed because for whatever reason the footage is at like double speed. So when played in real time, it looks like World War I. All these guys are walking around like this, real fast. So bear with me here, gang. But that is USS Portland astern of Enterprise that is still swinging wildly in the sea here.
Gracious. Yeah.
For a while, Enterprise is essentially out of control here at Santa Cruz.
Oh, that's right.
And
that's right.
She's brought under control.
You can see Portland is turning to match course, and look, now she's going to be on a reciprocal course. Once we right there, right? See how she's turned too, made a hard turn to starboard to stay off of Enterprise's starboard quarter.
Her one of the guys that brings Enterprise's steering back under control. He's not the only one.
She's shooting too. I don't know.
Yeah, she is shooting. I just saw that. Yeah.
Yep.
I did not see that before, but I just
boom, boom. Yep. 3, 4, a little right there, tight little cluster.
1, 2,
2,
3,
3,
4,
4, 5.
Oof, goodness me.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, here we go. Watch these guys scatter, man. Get out.
Yeah.
This is Junio's attack on Enterprise here. And here's this DD is riding
right in there, yeah.
Just pouring it to him.
Yeah. That 5-inch is doing its thing as well.
Look at that.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeet.
Okay, gang, here you go.
And that is that near miss. Holy buckets. Literally buckets.
Buckets and buckets and buckets.
Yeah.
According to Enterprise, this attack is about 2 minutes in duration. 8 planes were seen to crash. Several were seen to release their bombs after obviously being hit. The bombs fell 500 yards short, and the plane spun down in flames. Clearly, they missed this one because that was not 500 yards short.
No, that's
Kagloosh.
that's like 10 yards short.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's right on her backside.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Particulate matter there too. Near miss there.
Near misses, yeah. But look at her just skewing through the water.
Yeah, and all of the muzzles tracking around.
And again, this is okay. There's a shotgun aircraft right there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, keep in mind, guys, it is at a faster speed than I'd actually wanted, but that's just the way the footage is. So I apologize about that, but can't help that. Move forward here. But yeah, this is next to when she's engaged by the kamikaze that knocks Enterprise out of war. This is the most severe damage that she suffers through the entire wars here at Santa Cruz.
Shooting cross deck there.
Yep, I just saw that too. This guy, right?
That guy just yoinks that thing around. Yeah, buddy. He'd smoke.
Oh, cool. I just noticed that they're changing the magazine on it too.
Oh, really?
Go back. Yeah, watch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can see the drum being yoinked off there.
Right here. Watch here, gang. He dumps it. I'm out.
I'm out of bullets. Give me more.
Give me more. Boom. And there he goes.
You can see the drum going on. Okay, that's cool. Never seen that before.
I've seen this footage 100 times. I've never noticed that before myself.
There's our ubiquitous Atlanta class cruiser back there. Is that San Juan?
That's got to be San Juan, yeah, because this is still Big E.
Yep.
Look at a flak hanging out in the air.
Yeah.
Just the bursts in
just
the air.
Fascinated. Oof.
Good gracious.
Yeah. Hello.
Clearly a torpedo attack.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. There's another downed aircraft.
Yes, sir.
And another downed
aircraft. Another one. Some of Junio's pilots, when they came back after this attack, were so shell-shocked from the fire that they had been under that they were literally speechless. They were incoherent when they were being interrogated by their officers as to what they've been up against. And we're only at the beginning of, the American transformation. Okay, I love these two. It's only going to get worse from here, guys, in terms of the amount of ACAC that we're putting on our ships. Love these two destroyers here on, reciprocal courses. Exactly. Just strangers in the night,
And they are just blasting the air.
Yeah.
So there's a really famous picture, and going back to what you were talking about the sheer amount of AAA that we put up here at Santa Cruz is even more impressive than it was at Eastern Solomons, and that was significant. There's a really famous picture. You'll see Enterprise at sea. She's shot from a distance, and you'll see South Dakota in the same frame.
Yes.
A couple of the other destroyers, and the sky is literally black.
Black with the soot from the flak. Yeah.
It's incredible the amount of fire that these ships are putting up. And again, consider the task force is what? It's a third.
The task force is it's 8, 10, 11, it's 12. It's 12 ships. You've got 10 destroyers, 2 cruisers, a battleship, and the Enterprise.
Now take that.
Yeah.
And multiply that by 1944.
Exactly.
Good gravy.
Yeah. A lot of tracer fire there, you can see. Coming across deck again.
Okay. So that is the end of the Enterprise. And what I started to say, and we got sidetracked, is when Enterprise is out of control, one of the guys that helps bring her back under control, steering under control, is a gentleman named William Pinckney. William Pinckney was an African American. He was a mess steward, but his battle station was deep in the bowels of the ship. And Pinckney is awarded the Navy Cross for his actions, and he actually has a destroyer named, or maybe a DE, named after him later, the USS Pinckney. He's at that point, the second African American to be awarded the Navy Cross in World War II, with the first being, of course, Dory Miller.
Right.
Okay. So now the footage has shifted to the other end of the American spectrum of the Battle of Santa Cruz. Of course, this is CV-8.
Hornet.
USS Hornet. From what I was able to decipher, most of the footage that you're going to, not all of it, but most of the footage you're going to see here of Hornet was shot by USS Pensacola.
Mm-hmm.
Pensacola is riding, clearly, directly off her starboard side, the heavy cruiser Pensacola. Some of the other footage you're going to see is shot by USS Northampton, which is another heavy cruiser in the task force. Of course, she's under a launching sequence here. And then things get really confusing with this footage, so just bear with us as we go through here because it gets very herky-jerky. You see what I mean? It's hard to keep it under control. But this is a Japanese aircraft coming in to attack USS Hornet. And to let it be known, Hornet actually gets hit before Enterprise does at Santa Cruz. And the footage is such a way, I wanted to keep it so we just focus on one ship without bouncing back and forth.
Right.
So this all occurs actually before the footage you just saw from Enterprise.
Yep. There's obviously a ship behind Hornet as well.
Right,
so Hornet's task force, this is under Rear Admiral George Murray. We got heavy cruisers Northampton and Pensacola, light cruisers San Diego and Juneau. So we got Juneau. Hello.
Wrong fleet.
Hello.
Juneau.
Yeah. And 6 destroyers. Morris, Anderson, Hughes, Muston, Russell, and Barton. A number of whose names we know from future battles. And there's...
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and then, Willis Lee is there in Washington. And he's got San Francisco, Helena, Atlanta, and 6 destroyers under him as well.
Yeah, but he's not in on
this. Yeah.
No, he's not in on this. I'm going to go ahead and assume, which I know is dangerous, this to be San Diego because I'm looking at Lundstrom right now, page 394, for anybody who wants to know, on the hardback version. She was riding to Hornet's port quarter, and that's a pretty big ship right there. Looks to be bigger than a DD to me, but I'm not 100% sure.
So you say that's San Diego?
I'm thinking so, yeah, because the footage that we're looking at right now was shot by Pensacola. There's no question there.
Yes. Page 394. Yeah. Lundstrom, Guadalcanal campaign, first team, decks of Washington, Nerderatti. Yeah, that's for San Diego. Yeah, buddy.
So if we're looking at the footage shot by Picola, and we are, because Sam Cox confirms that this is coming from Pensacola, that almost has to be San Diego in the background.
Yeah, and Pensacola, again, in Lundstrom's diagram, is directly off her her starboard side, which is what we're seeing.
So I don't know, because the aircraft are high, and she gets hit by dive bombers before she gets hit by torpedo aircraft. And you can see, we're looking at flak now. We're looking at, bursts in the air, and obviously relatively high. So they've got to be shooting at dive bombers at this point.
Yep. Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah, they most certainly are.
Those dive bombers, for sure.
And again, the footage jumps around because
why wouldn't it?
Why wouldn't it? And obviously, here's Hornet now. She's been
hurt
pretty good. So to get back to what causes this that we're seeing right here, just coming from my notes here, she receives. So the whole thing is, we had combat air patrol up in Santa Cruz and Eastern Solomons, but for the most part, not obviously all of it, for the most part, the radio chatter was such that the combat air patrol, a lot of it, could not engage the incoming Japanese because they couldn't get there. Now, obviously, there's some instances in which they do, namely, Swede Vedeza at Santa Cruz takes down 7 of these things, defending Enterprise, but he's not over Hornet. Hornet receives word of this strike that does this to her from her outbound strike. They pass one another. The Japanese and the Americans pass one another, and they radio back saying, "Hey, you get some
incoming
coming your way."
Yeah,
exactly. The Japanese sight Hornet at 0855. They don't see Enterprise at this point yet because she goes into a rain squall. The Cap does engage the Vals at 15 miles, but many of them break through and commence the attack at 0910. By 0912, CV-8 is hit by 3 bombs. Boom, boom, boom. The first one hits the flight deck and kills 60 men as it explodes 3 decks down. Moments later, another bomb struck the flight deck, this time exploding on the deck itself. And if you go back and look at some of the wreck footage of it, you see this. The explosion blows an 11-foot hole in the deck, and the flying shrapnel killed another 30 of Hornet's crew. Another hit comes just moments later. It's a 550-pound bomb, penetrates 3 decks below and explodes there, causing severe damage, but surprisingly, no loss of life. Seconds later, a damaged Val, and I'll show the imagery, the still image, hit by Hornet's own anti-aircraft fire, plunged into the carrier's stack. And, of course, that's famous shots there. It glances off the port leading edge of the stack, smacking into the flight deck. The engine and the propeller stuck there. That was piloted by Warrant Officer Sato Shigeyuki, that aircraft. The Hornet, the hits that render her, pretty much dumbstruck occur in less than 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom.
And obviously she's taken a torpedo hit here because she's listing. You can see this. John, this torpedo attack is led by our friend Murata
Shigeharu. Yeah, this is his.
Lay it on us about Murata. Who is Murata?
Yeah, I mean, Murata was the leader of Akagi's torpedo plane group at Pearl Harbor. He's the best torpedo plane pilot in the Imperial Navy. He's the guy that led the attack against Battleship Row. So yeah, this guy knows what he is doing, and this is going to be his final ride. When he comes in on this attack, he leads the group, and again, I'm looking at the diagram in Lundstrom's book on page 394. So of his squadron that comes in, only 7 of these planes managed to make it through the American cap. 3 of them are going to attack, and they set up a classic, well, they try to do a hammer and anvil kind of thing, but unfortunately, because Hornet is maneuvering radically away from them, this puts Murata in a really bad position. His 4-plane element is basically off the starboard quarter of Hornet. And so he's got really, really bad angles, and he ends up getting shot down and killed in this attack. And that is the end of him. So there you go.
That's the thing with Santa Cruz, too. We've talked about this ad nauseum, but the casualties that are inflicted on the Japanese aircrew here are severe.
Fearsome.
They're severe. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I off the top of my head, total aviator losses for the Battle of Santa Cruz, I believe, are 148 Japanese aviators, which is handily more than they lost at Midway. They only lost 110 there. But yeah, if you look at, sort of the aftermath of this whole thing, this really is the death ride of the early war IGN carrier air groups. So I'm trying to look those up just real quick here. Yeah, they lose 113 aircraft in this battle and 148 air crew. By contrast, the Americans lost 81 aircraft, but only 24 air crew killed or captured. So, yeah.
Significant. So, obviously, Hornet is dead in the water. She's back here behind this smoke. There's another Atlanta anti-aircraft cruiser here. Don't know which one's either Juno or San Diego. One of the two. And then her destroyers are surrounding her here. But yeah, that's why Santa Cruz gets more of the lion's share than Eastern Solomons does in terms of attention, is because of the sheer casualties inflicted on the Japanese at this particular event. Yeah, she is a
mess,
dead in the water here.
Yeah, she is a mess.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is the destroyer Russell. That's who this is, DD-414. And what she's doing alongside right now, she's basically taking off the crew. And you're going to see that in some footage here in just a minute. She's getting the crew off. They're ordering all non-essential personnel to get the hell off the ship now. They do keep a skeleton crew, most of which are guys to keep the ship moving, trying the DC parties and the gunners. But she's not flying anything. If you're aviation personnel or if you're a cook and you're not doing anything, get off my ship. Yeah, and that's essentially what's happening here. Look at the radar right here. I just noticed this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the bed spring.
Huge bed spring right there.
Yep. That'd be a CXAM, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sure enough. Yeah, this is the death ride of Hornet here. Got our lines down the side, guys getting off.
So basically, at the end of this attack, she's taken 3 bombs, 2 torpedoes on the starboard side, and has been crashed by 2 Japanese Vals. One into her stack, and the other does a sort of a wing over and hits her on the port bow. In fact, we should be able to see from this angle approximately where that plane hits.
You would think, and you can see the damage done by the Val that hits
the stack
right here. Yeah, that would be Sato Shigeyuki's
Sato
crash. Right. But the other aircraft that you're talking about, that it's a torpedo plane that does a wing over and comes around to this side.
No, it's a Val.
It's a Val. I'm sorry, you're right. It is a Val, and it hits right around here.
Yeah,
because again, you can see this in the wreck footage, and you can see the actual parts of the aircraft too, but you can't really see it too much here, which is kind of surprising because it went in and exploded in the hangar.
Probably went well, and you can see through the hangar deck here. Can you see those guys running around on the hangar deck there?
Yeah, there's dudes right here.
Yeah, which means we're looking. The roller blinds are up, and we're looking into her hangar space, and there are people inside there doing their thing. But yeah, you can see them running around in there.
Trying to see if we could catch the doink on the damage there, but I can't see.
Yeah. Now we're much closer on
it never ceases to amaze me, in an abandoned ship process. It's always so calm. Again, this is good training. This is the product of good training and preparation. But your ship is sinking, and these dudes are as cool as the other side of the pillow. Here's the 8 right there on her hull. But these dudes are cool as can be, man. Okay, so this stuff here, this is shot from USS Northampton. You can see the
You
big
can see your gun
right
barrels.
here.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Northampton's this line.
Yep.
Right,
they're trying
here,
to tow her.
Mm-hmm. Which they actually do. They get her moving. I think at one point, not Hornet. I'm sorry, Northampton hooks up the line, and she basically firewalls the throttle, and it snapped the line, and she went forward too fast, and it popped the line, so they had to reattach the line.
Yeah.
And when they reattach the line, she proceeds at a little bit slower pace, and she winds up getting Hornet moving at about 6 knots, which
yeah, right.
Terrible, really.
Yes. Unfortunately, Junyo's final attack is going to come in and put paid to those hopes.
Yeah. So this is, if those wondering, if this footage is shot from Northampton, and it is, this is USS Pensacola back here.
That's right.
And you can still see the DDs up alongside here.
Yep.
There were 2 that came alongside. I don't know which one that one is. Russell was the one that we saw earlier. I don't know which one this one is. I just don't know. Yeah, you can see the line, the tow line, very clearly.
Yeah.
Right here, and the remnants of something here. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Okay, so here's where it all goes pear-shaped. So yeah, this is Junyo having her day. There's a final torpedo plane attack that comes in. I forget the number of actual torpedo planes that make it, but there's a famous still image of, and you can see here Hornet is just opening up on them. They've got to drop the line at this point, the tow line. And yeah, we've got more planes coming in, of course, from the wounded starboard side of this vessel, and Hornet is just blazing away with everything she's got, and it's not going to be enough, unfortunately.
No, she's a sitting duck, because I mean, if you look at it in real time, she ain't moving.
No, she's not.
She's moving with the current, if she's moving anywhere. Yeah.
And
then we lose her here but let's go back just a minute ago, or just a second ago. I'm sorry. So again, as I said, the essential personnel are aboard, and you see the 5-inch guns going off quite clearly. And then up here, those are her 1.1s.
Yep.
Blazing away as well.
Yep.
But she's essentially a sitting duck. She's just dead in the water.
Yeah.
A lot. You can see aircraft right here.
Yeah, part of the problem is too that the Juno had departed mistakenly. Oh my goodness, those are Japanese planes going over her after dropping their fish. So yeah, Juno departed to rejoin Task Force 16, and there are no fighters overhead. And so in the course of this attack, we shoot down 2 of the torpedo planes, and 3 of the Zeros are done in, but one of the surviving Kates ends up nailing Hornet right in the same general area in her engineering spaces that have been creamed by the 2 torpedoes during Murata's attack.
According to Lundstrom, that man's name is Irikin. Last name is Irikin. Or just the given name.
Irikin
Yoshiaki. Yep.
Yoshiaki. Yep.
What I found to be interesting right here, too, is watch directly above Hornet. That's American anti-aircraft fire being shot at.
And those are Japanese planes going right over her. You see them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
One here and one. Oh, we lose her right here, but right there.
Yep. So those are Kates, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
The forward one most clearly is. Yeah, she's just a sitting duck. You can see splashes too from, and another one there coming in low over the water. So that's a third.
Yeah, sir. I didn't see that till just now until you said that, but there she is.
Yep.
Ooh, man, he's low. And you had to know those guys on Hornet knew it was over with at that point.
Now you can see she's got a more serious list at this point. Yeah, as soon as that third torpedo hit, I mean, that's it. It's clear that her engineering spaces are just devastated. She's never going to recover from that hit.
Mm-hmm. So she stays afloat for a long time. Typical of American torpedoes, we try to sink her, and we can't.
We can't. Yeah.
Because they are pathetic at this point in the war. Pathetic. And the Japanese, so there's a drawing made by a Japanese. The Japanese actually come upon Hornet in the middle of the night. And,
yes.
And they shine searchlights on her, and they're able to positively identify her by the number 8. They knew CV8 was USS Hornet. There's a drawing made by a Japanese that she's sitting, upright and all this other stuff, and it makes it a little more dramatic, looking like we abandoned her and sunk her. But clearly, by this footage, she was listing pretty damn good.
Yeah, our own destroyers, tried to sink her with their torpedoes, and of course, at this point in the war, our surface-launched destroyer torpedoes are essentially the same as our submarine-launched Mark 14s, and so they're hot trash in terms of their exploders. And also their depth keeping. So yeah, we can't do that. We pump a bunch of 5-inch shells into her. She's burning furiously. But then our radar scopes start lighting up with the fact that there are Japanese destroyers approaching. And so we're like, we're out. And the Japanese pull up next to her. And yeah, they're able to positively identify her.
And sink her.
Because their torpedoes work.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And that is pretty much the end of Hornet.
Yeah, that's a pity.
Yeah, she had a very short life. She had kind of a star-crossed career, too. Her one, good gracious, look at that list.
Yeah.
Her one, claim to fame, of course, is the Doolittle raid. And she botches Midway for the most part, and then this. And
well, and you really have to wonder, too, what would have happened. Now we're going back in time, obviously. This is, before that final torpedo attack. What if Juno had not departed for Task Force 16? What if there had been some combat air patrol overhead? She might have lived. She was obviously a very tough ship. But, yikes, yeah. Not going to escape 3 torpedo hits.
There was some bitterness, too, from what I was able to decipher between Hornet and Enterprise after this. Hornet's crewmen after this is because they felt that Enterprise abandoned them. But what they didn't know is that Enterprise could not conduct flight ops. So there was nothing she could have done because of the damage that she'd taken up forward. She could not launch. And we know the whole story about Robin Lindsay putting aircraft down from Hornet on Enterprise's, one wire.
Yeah.
But she couldn't conduct any flight ops, so there wasn't, there was literally nothing she could do.
Yeah.
And
Kincaid
felt that by lingering, he would expose her to potential fatal damage as well.
So. Right. Yeah. No, the Enterprise was definitely in the schnitz. I mean, the bottom line is that the whole battle was kind of ill-conceived. This is an example of an over-aggressive Halsey sticking 2 carriers into up against superior Japanese numbers, and it could have been even worse if Hio, I think, had a fire in her engineering spaces that ended up sending her back to the shop in the middle of the initial sortie. So, we might have lost Enterprise here in this battle. That very easily could have happened. Halsey stuck his neck out rather too far here and almost paid the price for it. As it was, we lost Hornet. This is a battle, I think, it's arguable whether we should have gotten into it at all, really.
It's a defeat.
It is.
The final carrier battle in 1942 is an American defeat.
Yeah.
So this is the destroyers. Now these are Hornet's crew. Is what this is. This is Hornet's. You saw these guys in the water just a minute ago. Let me back up just a smidge. That's who these guys are. These are Hornet's crew. They're in their life rafts and their lifeboats and things like that. And they're being hauled up on these DDs, and then the DDs are transferring them to other ships within the task force because destroyer can't feed that many miles. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's essentially it.
And you haven't identified this destroyer? Come on, Seth. What do we pay you the big bucks for?
I did, but I forgot what the hell the name of it was. Referring these people to this other ship is the USS Russell. That was the DD that we saw that was really close alongside Hornet pulling her people off.
Right.
That's who this ship here is. That's a way I would not want to go. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that's a pucker moment. Yeah.
If you fall, you're dead. That's it. You're gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you got to do what you got to do. You got to get those guys out of there.
Yep.
Off of there, I should say.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bring me my brown pants, please. So.
It's not that bad.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This heavy cruiser that they're putting them on again, Pensacola, Northampton. I don't know. Clearly, they both had camera equipment, but this is one of them. You can see there's a big 8-inch gun right here.
Oh, and somebody should be able to look at the placement of that 1.1 inch, and they'll be able to tell us.
I'm sure they will. We welcome the
absolutely
comments. Ooh, wounded coming across too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so that pretty much wraps up Eastern Solomons and Santa Cruz archival footage. I ran across, somebody else ran across and posted something in a Facebook group. I am not active in Facebook, hardly at all. But there is a Facebook group, I think it's called Imperial Japanese Navy or some such thing. Yeah. And a gentleman found some archival footage from NHK and posted it in there, and it is Japanese archival footage of the Battle of Santa Cruz.
Oh, interesting.
It's freaking cool. It's very, very brief, and it's very herky-jerky and shaky because whoever was shooting this, and I don't know who, was clearly riding in the backseat of an airplane under fire.
Right.
Because you can see at several points the Japanese archival footage pauses, and you can see South Dakota in the shot, and you can see Enterprise in the shot. So
that's a scary ride.
Yes, sir. And you can tell. I mean, there's no question it's the Big E, and there's no mistake in South Dakota. And it's whoever was in the backseat of that airplane was a lucky man.
Yeah, it was a lucky person. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, and the reason you're wondering why don't I show that footage, because I don't own it, so we can't really show that if we don't have it. So, but it is out there. I'd never seen that before. It was absolutely fascinating. Fascinating. So, anyway, all right. Anything else?
No, sir.
Cool.
I'm good. All good to go. Thanks for letting me nerd out and do a stopwatch on the 5-inch 38s blazing away there. That just absolutely made my day.
Yeah, those guys were kicking it.
Rate of fire. I love it. All right.
All right. We're good?
We're good.
We're good. All right. Well, with that, we want to thank you very much for listening and or watching to this, hopefully watching this episode of the Unauthorized History of the Pacific War podcast. We do appreciate it very, very much. Once again, my name is Seth Paridon. I want to thank you all for watching. John, my friend, as always, thank you for being here.
Yeah, and I too thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really enjoy it every week, and we will see you all again next week.